Hello everybody, C3KO Trinity here. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on Stephen King's It. Now, this book is his #1 book in the world. I went around the world in nothing but my underwear to save money. And I asked every person on the planet what Stephen King's favorite book is. And they're like, It. Some said shit. Some said misery, but I took it as it. So it has been a proven fact. #1 book on the planet. Look it up. First off, it's a very graphic book. So what I'm about to say will spoil a lot of things for you guys if you have not read it. Starts off with a little boy named Jorge. And he's outside playing in the rain. And it is raining like cats and dogs. No, seriously, cats are falling as well. And so are dogs. Georgie, also known as Jorge. He's sometimes called Georgie. It's sometimes spelled Jorge. I don't know, maybe he forgot the name. But anyway, he's going down in the water. He's swimming because the streets are so flooded that he's just swimming in it. And it is about 6 o'clock in the evening. Back in 1940, the kids, that's what they were allowed to do at 6:40 in the evening. So little Jorge is swimming and he gets lost. And his parents are trying to find Jorge. Fun fact, he was going to name this book Finding Jorge. But then, of course, someone came out with Finding Nemo, and, that ruined that, so. But anyway, Jorge was swimming along, and he got a little too close to this drain. And Jorge fell into the drain. And you thought he ended up dying, but nope. He survived. 300 years later, these other kids, they're sitting there and they're playing ball and, doing what normal kids do. Taking the knife and slitting the ball and, cutting their nicknames on their chests. Typical things kids do. And they hear this voice calling from the drain. So one boy comes over, I think his name was Benjamin. He comes over and he's like, "Hey, is there anyone in the drain?" And then the voice speaks up and goes, "Would you like a balloon?" And the guy goes, "No, not from the sewers. That balloon would smell like shit." And he goes, No, would you like a balloon? They're all clean. We keep our balloons clean down here." And the guy's like, "Well, what color is the balloon?" And he goes, "There's all colors. Red, blue, black, orange, black, purple, black." And the guy said, "Do they float?" And he goes, "Oh, yes. Yes, the turds down here, they do float. So you might not want to come down here. So you gotta watch yourself." So Benjamin, he stayed back a little, and the guy gave him a black balloon, and, Benjamin went on his way, and he told his friends, "Hey, there's this cool guy down at the sewer, he's giving away free balloons." So all the kids, on the block come and take turns getting a balloon from, the stranger in the sewer. 200 years later after that. I know it's a little confusing, but you have to get through the history in order to get to the real story. But the main story focuses on a young little whippersnapper named Bill. Now, his brother named Georgie, who's a direct descendant of Jorge, he goes out into the rain and he's playing with his little boat, and his little boat falls down the drain. So he's like, "Oh shit, bitch, I done lost my train." So he goes, his train? Yeah. It turns out that boat can transform into a train. It was the most coolest thing ever. Best thing Stephen King's ever wrote. So he goes to the sewer drain, and he's looking down in it to see if he could see it. And all of a sudden, this clown pops up, and he goes, "Oh shit!" And the clown goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he throws a couple of turds off of him. He goes, "What are you doing down there?" And the clown goes, "There's this big storm that came and blew me and the whole entire circus down here, white boy." And then the Georgie, he was like, "Well, can you get out? Do you need me to help you get out?" And he goes, "Why, yeah. Give me your hand." And he starts laughing, this really weird laughing, like, and the kid ignores it, which I wouldn't have, but the kid ignores it, and he reaches out to get his hand so he can pull the clown out of the drain. Well, the clown pulls him close to him, gives him a big old kiss on the cheek, and says, "I love sheep." And then the boy runs away and never is to be found again. I think he hit his head on some kind of like post later on in the book, and you find him somewhere down in the sewer. Apparently he like floated down to the sewer after he hit his head. Oh yeah, he's stone cold dead, by the way. But his brother Bill, he's out there looking for him, and Bill is kind of a nobody. He stutters. He's like, "Georgie, where are you, Georgie?" And which of course, there's these two bullies in school, and they always pick on him. They call him, Stutter Face, Nutter Stutter, and Peanut Stutter and Jelly. And he just doesn't like it, and he tries to stay away from him. Well, he ends up meeting all these other group of losers, and they end up getting together and forming this ultimate cult called the Loser Cult. And they get together, drink the punch, typical cult things. But one of them, his name is Ben. He's a direct descendant from Benjamin. He's really, really fat. He looks like Eric Cartman. And he'll walk around, he's like, "I'm not fat, I'm Big Man, goddammit." And the bully, of course, calls him Tutti Frutti and, fat ass. And, the typical things that, us fat people are called in schools. Yeah. But, all of them have something wrong with him. He's got Eddie, who's a clean freak. He's, doesn't want any germs. He doesn't want to kiss a girl because she has that cootie disease. He doesn't want to kiss a guy because he has the cootie disease. He has gazebos. And so on and so forth. It's just a big sausage fest, really. Until they recruit Beverly, but I'll get to her in just a second. But anyway, they're all searching for little Georgie. And one by one, they see this clown. And the clown somehow can shapeshift. And when Benjamin sees him, the clown takes the form of cotton candy. Being a fat ass, he's like, "Ooh, cotton candy. Let me taste a little bit." And then it transforms back into this clown, and he's all like, and then he just takes off running. It scared me to death. It really did. I was like, "Oh!" But and then I lost my page. It was quite annoying. But yeah, it scared him to death. He was mentally scarred for years after that. Bill, when he found him, he was inside like Bill's basement. It was like flooded, and he came out of the water, and he had Georgie with him. And he's like, "Oh my God, Georgie, is that you? You found my brother. Thank you, mister." And then he realized that it was just the neighbor's kid, Billy, and he was like, "Oh, that's not Georgie." And then, the clown let him down, so he never trusted clowns ever since. Then little Eddie, he, the clown showed up, and he was like, "You want a balloon?" And he's like, "Sure." And he picks and holds the balloon, and the clown goes, "It's from the sewers." And of course, him being a clean freak, it was horrible, horrible. But then he met a guy named Richie, and he was rich. Of course, his last name was Rich. It's Richie Rich. And he was a multi-gajillionaire. But he saw the clown, and the clown was sitting on the sidewalk, and Richie walks past him, and he goes, "Spare some change?" And Richie turns around and goes, "No, no thanks." Well, then the clown ends up getting up, blows him a balloon, forms it in the shape of a welfare check, and that terrifies poor Richie Rich. It terrifies him. So he completely drops out of the scene for good. He tells his friends, he's like, "Namaste." So he disappears. Well, then they meet Beverly. Now, her dad's a little, he's a transvestite. He does, Brooklyn shows, gets up on that stage and shakes that fanny. And, he's got to make his money somehow. But it's humiliating to her, and everyone makes fun of her for it. And, she ends up cutting her hair. She's completely bald. She looks like a monk. She's all like... And, everyone, makes fun of her. They call her Mrs. Clean. And, anyway, she doesn't see the clown, but she happens to be on that time of the month, and, and, when she was on the time of the month, she just doesn't like clowns. She's good with clowns the entire time, but that time of the month, she's, afraid of clowns. Typically, like women are. But, they end up meeting her, and she ends up falling in love with Benjamin. And, of course, stuttering Billy, he's like, "What about me?" And she looks at him and goes, "Well, I'll do you too." And then Eddie's like, "Hey, I want in on some of this hot, sweet action." And she's like, "Well, come and bring it on." And he's all like, "Oh, wait, I'm afraid of germs, never mind." And then, big orgy happens. Not even kidding, there's an orgy in the book. But anyway, shit goes down. They end up saying, "You know what? There's a lot of missing kids here lately. We're sick and tired of it." So they make a plan to go into the sewer where this clown supposedly lives. And when they get down there, they happen to see that little boy from Dreamcatcher, but they pass him by. They're like, "Oh, you go eat shit." And, they just leave him by, and he's all like, "Rocky-doo!" Because he sounded like Scooby-Doo. They go down there and they see the clown. He's down there, juggling bananas. And, which, they were probably turds. And, they're all like, "Hey, mister, we need you out of here. There's a lot of kids coming up missing. We hear a lot of rumors about things floating down here in the sewers. We ain't having that. The adults don't want to do nothing about it, so we're gonna." And the clown was all like, "Fuck y'all." And he, gave him a dab. And, well, they dabbed right back. And then all of a sudden, it became this whole big dab battle. They were always like, And, of course, the clown got tired. He's all like, no more. No more. I give up." And he's like, "You know what? Fine. I'll tell you where the missing children are." Not really. And he fell back into the sewer water and disappeared. Now, that's the whole half of the book right there. That's half. The next half begins when all the kids are apparently grown up. It's about 2 years later. No, I'm just kidding. It was actually 100 years later. They're all grown-ups. They live separate lives. It's the whole Phil Collins song. And there's a guy named Stan. And he, wakes up in the bathtub. And he's all like, "Where am I?" Then all of a sudden the light cuts on and this puppet's on TV. And he goes, "Mama wants to play game." And the guy's all like, "What?" He's Elmo wants to play a game. You must call these 7 strangers and tell them that it's back and that they need to get through the sewers again. And the guy's like, or else what? And almost, the guy whoever's on the phone, the puppet, he just, shows up out of nowhere, bursts from the TV. He's like, Elmo's going to slit your wrist and he's going to make you write it on the damn wall. One way or another, you're going to send this message. And, the guy, he's all like, whatever. So he goes out and he calls all 7 people. And, tells them, hey, it's back. And they're like, what's it? And he hangs up. So they're just sitting there like, what's it? And afterwards, he's all like, there, Elmo, or whatever the puppet name was. He goes, I did your bidding. Now what? Then all of a sudden, the puppet comes out of nowhere, slits his wrist, puts his hand on the bathroom wall, scrapes it down, writes it in perfect Roman numerals, language. And the guy's like choking in the bathtub. He's all like, I don't understand. I called the people. And he goes, no, you didn't. You called one wrong person. And, now they meet this black guy who shows up, and he's all like, hey, everybody, I got a phone call saying it's back. And they're all like, well, you can join us. They all end up coming back together in the Derriere, Maine. And they're all, back. They're like, oh, wow, Ben's skinny now and buff. Is that Matthew McConaughey? And it turns out to be Matthew McConaughey. And, everything's changed. Then Beverly shows up and she starts boinking Billy Bob again. Whoever Billy Bob is. Billy. No, not Billy. What was his name again? The original guy. Bill. That's it. It's not Billy Bob, Jacob. Okay? It's Bill. Look it up. So she starts boinking him on the restaurant table. That's where they met, was a restaurant. McDonald's. And so they all order their food. And they all order chicken McNuggets. And, they burst open the chicken McNuggets. And blood starts squirting all in their face. Well, they get their refund. And they, they're all going out. And they're like, what a bunch of bullshit that was. We gotta eat a Subway next. And then all of a sudden this clown shows up. And he's all like, hey, remember me? And they're like, not really, it's been a while. And he goes, we met in the sewer, remember? You told me to get out? And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, how have you been? Well, it turns out the clown was an alien all along. Who could juggle really well. He's done master juggling bananas. And this alien, which, secret plot twist, is the alien from Dreamcatcher. I'm dead serious. Sorry for the spoilers. And they all walk up to him with their fingers like this, and he goes, I'm not a vampire. That's not going to bother me. Well, then Benjamin goes, oh, and then does that, forms the X-Men symbol. And he wasn't having that. He's like, and finally, they trap him back into the sewer, into this little hidden cave. And it has like a little tent there. It's apparently where he was staying. And they get him back on the tent, and he's all like, and Beverly pulls out this silver knife, she jabs him right in the chest, pulls out his heart, and they eat it. It's a little extreme. I told you this book was graphic. But after that, there was never a clown that came back to Derry, Maine ever again. And everything was all peachy keen. Until everyone got amnesia. Not even lying. Everyone at the end gets amnesia. They don't know who they are, don't know where they are. They're all like, ugh. And yeah, apparently the one guy, the one that got the wrong phone call, he didn't get amnesia. And he wrote everything down because he's like a journalist. And he wrote every single thing down. And he said, you know what I'm going to call this book? It. And there we go, guys. That is Stephen King's masterpiece, It. Will we ever figure out what happened to Georgia and Jorge all those years ago? I didn't really want to tell you this, guys, but I'll go ahead and ruin the biggest spoiler of them all. Turns out that clown that they killed was Georgie. The first clown that they said to get out, that was Jorge. So Bill cut open, ate his own brother's heart. And he was like, I can't remember posts. And also Beverly ended up marrying another girl named Beverly. It was kind of weird. I figured she would end up with Ben or Bill or both or all of them. But no, she ends up marrying a girl named Merriweather. And she got sick and turns out to be under the weather. But yeah, that was Stephen King's It. It is such a good story. I hope you guys pick it up and read it. It'll just give you the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, comment below and tell me how good I did on this review. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and please comment below what the next fake Stephen King book review you want me to do. As always, I am a Sifricale Trinity. And this book gets a 10 out of 10. Alright. Oh, one last thing. It turns out the clown was also